Hello.
Hi.
Hello, so I'm Loïc, I'm co-founder and CEO of Pubstack, and this is because of me that we have to switch in English. I'm sorry.
Yeah, ich bin Torben, so I need to switch to English too. I'm happy to do this. I'm representing Pubstack in the German market.
Perfect. So, do you know how is it working?
I think it's
In the middle, yes.
Okay, perfect.
The computer is there.
Great. So, nice to meet you all. So today we'll talk about the top 5 ad revenue hack for publishers to have quick wins in terms of monetization. So by hack we mean like low effort to change the ad setup and high outcome basically. So we try to focus on that. But first let's make a quick presentation of the company. So it should be working.
So that's...
The big green, okay. Okay, so our mission at Pubstack is to help a web publisher increase their ad revenue by making monetization more data-driven for ad operation guys, lead manager guys, but also developers working on the ad setup. So at Pubstack, we work on 2 main products. The first one is Pubstack Analytics, which is basically a product centralizing all the ad ops data in real time to help a publisher monitor their revenue, troubleshoot when there is an issue, but also make a lot of test and learn, so testing a lot of new strategy, measuring things, and then making the right decision to increase their revenue.
Ja,
süß wie Torben so einen Stift bei sich so an seinem Tag dran hat.
From France, obviously. 35 people are working at Pubstack. More than half of them are developing the product for long. By the end of this year, it is planned to be 60 people, and the company is well funded with 7 million. Right, and we have many publishers and sales houses, small and hugely large ones, that optimize the ad stack for global inventories they have. And there are also some very happy clients here in the German market, like United Internet, Quarter Media, High Five, Gute Frage, Wettercom, Meine Stadt, Click Performance, and a few others. And in total, all these clients optimize the ad stack for more than 10,000 websites, which already sketches a kind of complex situation and what that can mean.
Yeah. Here we go. So basically, if we put a bit of context to understand the mission of Pubstack, during the last 5 to 10 years, publishers have been facing a massive shift in monetization. So monetization became much more complex than it used to be a few years back, and I'm sure that everybody agrees about it, even on the demand side. We basically went from an ad server that used to be the backbone of the sales house to an ad stack with many different components, SSP, video player, CMP, ID solution, and whatever. We went also from simple skills to manage the ad server, mostly traffic management, to more technical and more engineering-oriented skills, such as yield manager, ad operation guy, data analyst, developers dedicated to monetization. Then we also went from direct campaign to programmatic campaign. And finally, we had a lot of challenges to tackle during the last 5 years with the GDPR regulation, the rise of video advertising, the end of the third-party cookie, the rise of ID solution, etc., etc. So all these basically make monetization much more complex for publishers, for advertisers too, of course, but especially for publishers and that have to basically hire more people, find new tools, and also have to manage a very fragmented environment. And this is totally where Pubstack have its role to play. So our analytics solution is here basically to centralize all the relevant data about monetization, but also to connect the dots. So basically have all the data connected together to have a clear understanding on how the traffic impact the monetization, how the inventory quality impact the monetization, how, for instance, the content itself impact the monetization, etc., etc. So our mission is to centralize all this data with, of course, a lot of focus on revenue themselves, revenue that comes from pre-bid, from the ad server, from Google AdX, from Open Bidding, from Amazon TAM, and all in one place and all in real time with a lot of granularity in the data.
Yeah, and what we brought to you today is the top 5 ad revenue hacks for quick monetization wins for publishers, which are all based on tests that we see across the entire portfolio. And what is also most important, they are easy to implement and they show immediate results. Some of them you think you know already, but then the proof is in the pudding if it's really going to the details that Loïc is going to start now.
Absolutely. So let's start with a very simple one. So don't hesitate to reach out if you need more detail because we'll go pretty fast about the 5 tips. So the first one is pretty well known. It's about bid caching. So bid caching is totally legit when it is done in the right way. So prebid.org, so the header bidding wrapper, has a native feature about bid caching basically. And that feature allows publisher to set a competition with the second highest bid of an auction into basically a new auction by respecting some criteria such as time to limit and also, of course, the context to serve the impression in the right context the advertiser is willing to buy. And with that simple activation, we can see most of the time, in average, a 6% uplift of overall pre-bid revenue, and we see still a lot of publishers that do not activate it. So it's the right time to check with your developer team if it is activated for you or not.
Yeah, number 2, adding more programmatic ad sizes on each ad unit, and then not any ad size, but relevant ad sizes. Imagine a huge advertiser like Procter & Gamble runs a global campaign driven from New York, wherever, and selects a very specific ad size, let's say 320 by 320. And so publishers that have the right content, the right audience, and the 320 by 320 will then see a part of this huge, massive budget that is going rolled out globally. If you don't have 320 by 320, you will miss out on that. And then you maybe recognize too late, much later. And so you should have more ad sizes which have then the right size, sizes. Optimize the ad size at the placement level. So do checks what ad sizes you support, challenge what should be supported on that placement, and depending on the ad unit, this can mean that publishers can double their revenue on the selected ad unit. And what ad sizes that can mean, we are very happy to share with you. Just contact us and then we are happy to do this.
Yeah, we'll share some market data. And what is interesting here is this kind of tips is like very well known by the industry, but actually it's very common that we see a lot of publishers using only 1 or 2 ad size on an ad slot, and this is pretty interesting. If you take the same concept to the next level, the goal now is to create an ad unit that can basically enable as many ad size as possible in order to bring as much demand as possible from the programmatic pipe. So here comes the parallax. Parallax is a very simple trick used by already many publishers, and by testing the parallax in comparison with the classic mobile NPU, we can basically measure in average an additional 20% of performance. So at scales, it can really change the game for any publisher. So the parallax is providing basically a sliding effect and allow publisher to have basically more ad size, longer ad size, but not in an intrusive way, because in the end, the ad space, the ad container remain exactly the same size as a classic MPU. So in a parallax, it's 20% of uplift, and ideally, what you can get with a parallax is sizes such as large mobile NPU, 300 by 600, but you can also add sizes such as interstitial or whatever. So yeah, it's a pretty good trick, but a bit more complex than the previous one. This one is also a good one you can activate very easily in the ad server. We have tested it like 100 times with our publishers, and this one is only one box to click in the ad server. It's about the ad expansion feature in Google Ad Manager. Pretty well known too, but still we don't see all publishers using it. So if you want basically to give the size of the ad container to Google Ad Manager, then Google magic will happen and they will fill the ad container with all the size that can fill the ad space. So it means that it's handled by Google for Google demand. And so you will see appearing some very exotic size that will bring more revenue and in the end respect the ad real estate you are willing to give on that specific page layout.
So number 5, what we saw on many tests with publishers, the best way to do ad refresh is to do smart ad refresh on your ad units. And what does it mean, smart? As we see it, smart needs to be, as also heard before, refresh only if it's viewable, the ad, but smart also means have it easy to implement, easy to configure, to manage, dependent on different device, different country, different ad unit, ad size, probably the SSPs, different timeouts, whatever the settings are, it should be very easy and flexible for the new publishers to manage that via that interface, and then thereby you will always stay in control, which is very important. And then you need all the data, the analytics. Really, how does it work? Does it perform well? Is there any other option for you to optimize? Is there probably any advice from the Pubstack service team that collects all this information from globally where they can help? And this is then smart ad refresh. And imagine on the left side you see first impressions, the blue box, a certain amount, which has a viewability rate on average of 60%. If then the viewable ad impressions are refreshed and seen again, it is most likely that those are viewable again. So you will get an additional 33% of ad impressions, which are highly viewable, and by that you get a high amount of ad impressions, and the total amount of viewable rate on your inventory will increase in a very easy way, very flexible, transparent to manage, and by that you get highest revenues. This is what we can see.
Absolutely. So this is time for question, I guess.
Is that your last slide?
No.
I think.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sorry,
I was waiting for it.
Sorry, Ina. Please let me just say. I've written it more. No, I won't use it. No, but thank you. This is all about Pubstack. So it's technology, very transparent for the publisher, plus added service, so that the publisher is in control and can take all decisions and manage by itself. This is Pubstack.
Thank you. I come in the middle. Okay, thank you so much. I have one question for you guys. What you talk about revenue and the revenue hacks and how can I keep money safe? But let's make it a bit more clear. So what additional revenue can I actually not spend, sorry, expect? Yeah, exactly.
Want me to take it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really depends. So we have an ad refresh solution, for example. So on that part, it can be like very short-term revenue. Like it can be like 10% to 20% of overall revenue because we just fine-tune the setup to the next level. And so it can be like very short-term additional revenue. When it comes to analytics, usually we work first on cleaning up the setup of the publisher. It means like troubleshooting the setup and understanding all the area of improvement. So in the short term, there are some quick wins because basically we troubleshoot things. And then all along of the collaboration, we'll find some more strategic wins, such as working with the right partners, optimizing the overall inventory, etc. So sometime in 1 or 2 years of hard work with the publisher, we have seen the publisher doubling the revenue per user. So it's like a huge win for the publisher, but it takes time and it takes a sweat, of course, to reach the right level of performance, because it's a lot of effort from the ad operation guy to test, measure, learn about their setup. But it's a good engineering job that always brings value in the end. So
10%, I heard. This is where you would say you start with.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of variation here, but it can go from 10%, 20%. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Sasha, you have a question.
Yeah, because I know about a couple of publishers who build their own ad refresh solutions.
Yeah.
So I guess your solution isn't for free. Why should a publisher use your ad refresh solution?
Yeah, so almost all publishers are already using ad refresh, whether it is a commercial solution or in-house solution. What Pubstack can bring here is two things. The first one is measurement, so the ability to A/B test everything and to build a conviction based on data, and the data is extremely complex here. So having a clear idea by A/B testing of the impact on viewability, on the bid rate of the SSP, to see that you are not hurting your inventory. So measurement is a big part here, and this is, I would say, our core skills. And also on another part, setting up like more advanced rules. So if, for example, you want to not refresh a specific advertiser, or you want to not refresh, let's say, outstream video or whatever. So all these are basically requiring, if you are doing it in-house, developer time, resources, and you need to basically develop your own solution, and it's a lot of cost, and most of the time the publisher is limited in this type of development. So two things, basically measurement, the ability to measure everything, and the ability basically to do more advanced rules that really stick to what you want to do to control your setup.
Yeah, and the best subset probably is seeing. Seeing is believing. So try it out as a publisher for 4 weeks for free. Get the analytics, see the results, and then take a decision.
Wir haben noch eine Frage aus dem Publikum. Magst du noch einmal die Hand heben? Danke. More questions. Now it gets tricky. No.
Yes, I have one additional question. Did you have customer cases where the click-through rates dropped? And if so, for the ad reload, what did you do and how did you fix it? Because we had an ad refresh and we saw that our click rates dropped immediately when we had it, especially the I/O campaigns.
Okay, so this is why analytics is so important, basically, because when you play with ad refresh, it's like you can break a lot of things if it is not done in the right way, as probably like you experienced it. And whenever metrics change, like a bid rate drop or a feed rate drop or whatever, you need a lot of granular data to exactly understand the scope of the analysis. Is it due to you have been blacklisted by a DSP in the worst case scenario, or is it due to, let's say, not loaded ads or whatever? So it's really hard to give a clear answer here, but I guess that the answer is actually in the data themselves, and we should dig in the data and try to understand exactly what has been impacted and what happened. So this is why, in my opinion, this is so important to couple ad refresh solution with extremely powerful analytics, because this is how you can answer this type of question, basically. Is it answering your question? Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Merci beaucoup, Loïc. Danke, Torben.
Merci beaucoup.
À bientôt.